The following is a presentation of the Mat Talk Podcast Network.
You are now logged into WarUp on the Whitfield, featuring your hosts, Greg Warnock and Jeff Upson. PA Power Wrestling. Pennsylvania is wrestling.
Welcome into a brand new edition of WarUp on the WPIAL. Greg Warnock alongside Jeff Upson. And we're back for another week of wrestling chat for you guys. Post POWERade, which means we're into a brand new year and ready to break down some county tournaments and get you set for the next week and really get into the thick of things as far as the dual meets.
Yeah, and we saw the dual meet action pick up a little bit across the state, but here in the WPI we saw some of our county tournaments taking place. In fact, all of them except for the Allegheny County tournament were taking place. So a lot of good action here from a lot of District 7 schools.
Yeah, and a lot of these section matches taking place Monday, Wednesday of this week. You look at some of those county tournaments, the Westmoreland County tournament, some say it could be as strong as some states just because of how strong this county is. And it did not disappoint again this year. You look at the weight classes at 106 pounds. Briar Priest, he just continued his role from POWERade. Major decision, Vincent Kilkeary of Latrobe.
Yeah, and he looked really good in that match. He came out strong. He had no slump from that POWERade performance. And Kilkeary came after him. You know, he was not backing down, but Priest was just able to win some position battles and come out on top, get a few turns. Man, he looks good. And I was talking to some other folks about it, and he got beat up by Mac Stout or by Mac Church. And you're looking at that and saying, man, like how's this going to fall in the WPIL? Like, where are these guys going to end up? And Briar Priest is definitely, I think he's knocking on the door. I think he's going to have himself a nice little postseason.
113 pounds, Carter Dybert of Franklin Regional is your champion. He defeats Ethan Bergen of Hempfield 4-2 in the final.
And that was a little bit tighter than I think most expected. I mean, Bergen's he's obviously a good wrestler. Actually goes to Jeanette, but he wrestles for Hempfield. And he's a wrestler that coming down to 13 from 20. I think that was huge for him because he's a big 13-pounder, strong at that weight. And I think Carter wasn't frustrated, but he just wasn't able to do things that he's expects to do against guys at 113 pounds. So I think Carter will likely be at 120 for a couple matches until the postseason, just to get feels for bigger guys like with Ethan. But Ethan, I thought, wrestled well here at the Westmoreland County tournament. I think he's going to place himself nice in the postseason for Hempfield.
Yeah, didn't have the POWERade he wanted to have.
No,
so
right.
To bounce back and have a good tournament.
Yeah, this was a huge confidence boost for him, I'm sure.
120 pounds, Nate Roth of Latrobe. He was your champion, pinning Dom Giordano of Kiski in the finals. He had a solid tournament.
He looked great. I was very impressed with him at POWERade, but I was even more impressed with him here at Westmoreland, just the way he was able to come out and dominate Dom Giordano, who's a senior, right? So you got a freshman against a senior. Giordano's battle-tested. He's been around for a while. He's taken his lumps on that Kiski team, but he's been very solid for them this year. But Nathan Roth just came out and just toyed with him almost. So, hats off to Nathan Roth as a freshman. We talked about Kilkeary. This is a young Latrobe team, and I think they're going to see dividends pay out in a couple years.
126, Curtis Phipps of Norwin. First and foremost, glad to see he's able to get back out on the mat after the concussion he got at POWERade. But he was able to come out and get another championship, and this time he pins Finn Sullivan of Franklin Regional in the final. Tyler Simmerman of Derry finishes in third place here. He beats Damian George of Mount Pleasant 9-2. Want to mention that because Solomon able to avenge that loss he had against Zimmerman.
Yeah, he was. He was able to come back and beat Zimmerman this time around. But that finals match was tight, Greg. It was 0-0 when the fall came. So it was a scoreless match in the third period. And Phipps was able to he was on bottom, and Finn got a little high. He kind of caught his head and defensively pinned him. And it was very quick. I mean, it was pretty fast, and I think Curtis probably was not satisfied with the way he wrestled, considering it was a tied match in the third period. I think he would have liked to open it up more, but I thought he controlled some of the positions, but I think he has some definitely room for improvement. good showing by Finn, especially for him to come back and beat Ty Simmerman, as you mentioned, in the semifinals. I thought that was big for him, confidence-wise.
Yeah, after the loss he had against Rocco Walsh, I think the wheels kind of came off a little bit for Finn at POWERade, so now he's able to get things back in line.
And there was actually another freaking regional Panther that finished in the top 5, Dalton O'Neill. He beat some really good wrestlers to get there. He's a backup wrestler for Franklin Regional. He beat Lucas Capusta. He beat Enzo Angelico from Latrobe. So he had some nice wins as a backup here. So I love the fact that Westmoreland is allowing more than one entry here. But, it's a good problem to have, I guess, if you're Matt Leby with the Franklin Regional Panthers. 2 solid guys here.
132, Ian Oswald of Burrow. He is your champ. He beats Garrett Thompson of Franklin Regional by a close 1-0 decision. I
mean, you had to expect Ian Oswald was going to win by 1-0 decision, regardless of who it was in the finals. But, I thought Garrett Thompson wrestled well. This basically went chalk here with the top 4 seeds finishing exactly how they were. So not a lot of surprises here.
138, John Altieri of Norwin. He is your champion. Beats Noah Nivas of Mount Pleasant 4-0 for the title.
Yeah, another one that not too many surprises. John Altieri, I thought, looked really good in the finals. So I also thought Lucas Pazak from Penn Trafford, I thought he wrestled well. He beat Nathan Stone from Franklin Regional, the freshman. He beat him twice. He pinned him in the quarterfinals and then beat him in the third-place match. So it was a good showing by Luke.
145, Ty Linsenbigler of Hempfield, a fall over Mason Spears of Franklin Regional. A nice job by Linsenbigler to get that first period fall. Spears did come out and get a big win against Enzo Morlacki of Kiski in the semis. Morlacki came back for third.
Yeah, and this was, it turns out for a pin for Linsenbigler, but that match could have went either way, I thought, in some positions, just the way that they were wrestling. They were kind of back and forth. Mason had him, and then Ty had him. I would love to see these guys wrestle a full 6-minute match because I think there'd be a lot of action, a lot of points scored. It'd be a lot of fun to see. And I foresee that we will probably see this match again. But, Mason Spears, it's like he's so close. It's just, he has some good wins. It's just like, can he have that statement win, right? Ty Linsenbigler showed that, he's one of the top guys in the state for a reason.
152, probably the deepest weight in this tournament. Sammy Starr of Kiski ends up winning the title. Second place, Chase Kranitz of Norwin. I think some people may have been surprised with Chase being in the final, but Starr ends up getting the fall there to win the title. Third place, AJ Corrado of Burrow. He beat Trevor Vercleren of Hempfield. Fifth was Ian Ewing of Greensburg-Salem. We talked about him last week, and he majors Jack Pletcher for 5th place.
Yeah, I mean, this was a deep weight class here at 152 pounds, and you look at Sammy Starr's path to the finals. He had to beat Trevor Vercleren, and he beat him 11-4 in the quarterfinals. Not a bad match at all. But then he has the top seed, AJ Corrado from Burrow, a 2-time state medalist. Sammy Starr is a guy who at one time was the backup here on the Cavaliers. He beats him in tiebreaker 2-1, a guy he's familiar with. They both trained at the Mat Factory. And then in the finals, as you mentioned, he's the second seed, so I wasn't terribly surprised that he was in the finals. But yes, there was some other threats there on the bottom half. Chase Krantz, who's up from 145. He was at 145 for POWERade. Now he's up at 152. I think obviously maybe the better weight from him. And Sammy Starr was able to get a nice win in overtime. I feel like Sammy Starr, you can't count him out, man. He's got to be one of the most improved wrestlers of this season, I think.
I guess I would say surprised because of the fact that you look at some of those names. We talked about Ian Ewing last week. We talked about Jack Pletcher, where he's going to fall into the mix. AJ Corrado and Krantz, they would finish ahead of all of those guys.
Yeah, I mean, all 6 of these guys are highly ranked in the state. Corrado's highly ranked. Ian Ewing, as you mentioned, him and Jack Pletcher. Look at that section. That section between Vercleren, Ewing, Pletcher, and Starr. And then Krantz. They're all in the same. Yeah. They're all in the same section. So
if you're anybody else, good luck getting out.
Yeah, seriously. Forget about it. You might as well move up to 60 or 70.
Yeah, because there's 5 kids as you're getting out of each section, and all 5 of them are just nothing but studs.
Yeah.
160 pounds, Jack Bloomer of Kiski. He ends up winning the title by fall, dominating fashion.
Yeah, not surprising here. Not a deep weight class whatsoever. You had 2 Burrow guys finish 3rd and 4th, though. That was pretty cool. But Bloomer just dominated. He was definitely leaps and bounds ahead of the rest of the field.
170 pounds, Nick Delp of Kiski ends up winning the title, pinning Tony Zona of Penn Trafford in the final.
Much like 160, you had a Kiski Cavalier dominate this tournament. Not a lot of competition here. Tony Zona, a good job coming from the 6th-seeded position to get into the finals, but Nick Delp made quick work of that.
182, Ryan Weinzen of Norwin defeats Jared Curcio of Kiski in the finals 8-4 to win it all.
And that was maybe a little bit closer than some expected. Weinzen's a guy who is probably used to wrestling guys that are obviously up at 220 because that's where he was last year. But he was getting a little frustrated on his offense, but he was able to pick it up a little bit. The surprise here for me was freshman from Latrobe, Corey Barrero from Latrobe at 182. He was able to come away with 3rd place. As I mentioned, man, Latrobe with these freshmen, they're going to be pretty good.
Latrobe, in addition to that, 3rd, 5th, and 6th place in this weight class.
Yeah.
So you usually see with these multiple entries, okay, you get 2 guys on the stand at times, but 3 guys, that's pretty impressive. 195 pounds, Braden Roskoski of Kiski. He wins the title 4-3 over Justin Kramer of Hempfield. Good win for Roskoski. Interesting that Cole Waitman of Bell Vernon, we talked about him and seen where he could really dive into things, especially after a good tournament the weekend prior, but he ends up injury defaulting out, so hope to see him back on the mat.
Yeah, I was really looking forward to him versus Kramer and then possibly versus Roskoski because he just beat 2 highly ranked guys in the top 10, including 1 2-time state medalist. So Whiteman's a guy I wanted to see out here, so it's unfortunate. Hopefully this is precautionary and he's all good to go because he was injured all of last year, essentially. Another deep weight class here with Kramer and Roskoski going at it in the finals. Tight 4-3 match. I think you'll probably see this one happen again.
220, John Myers of Greensburg-Salem. He defeats Dylan Ferretti of Hempfield for the title.
He tech-falled him, 15-0. You're talking about 2 guys ranked top 10 in the state, 2 guys that are pretty close in the rankings, and you're thinking, man, John Myers just destroyed Ferretti. I mean, 15-0 tech fall. That was impressive for me. John Myers is wrestling on a different level right now. I'm very excited about him. I think he's right up there. Is one of the top guys in the state. I think he showed it here at the Westmoreland County tournament because he just dominated.
285, Isaiah Vance of Hempfield wins the title, a 3-1 winner over Billy McChesney of Greensburg-Salem.
Another guy that we talked about wanting to see how he would do against some of the bigger guys is Billy McChesney. And Vance, he controlled the match, but it was a good showing by Billy to show where he was at in terms of with some of the top guys. So notice we had no Stone Joseph, so I'm hoping that doesn't mean he's not out for a while.
Yeah, we'll have to see. And Kiski does win the team title despite not having Stone Joseph in this one. Looking at the Tri-County tournament and how the finishers placed there, you mentioned Mac Church. He ends up winning the title at 106 pounds over Jacob Haupt of Canon-McMillan 8-4.
Yeah, and that was a tight 8-4 match there, so it was a nice go for Haupt to see where he was at against the top-ranked guy in the state. But Mac Church showed, he's going to be a force.
I'll tell you what, Mac Church was not happy when he came off the mat because he was very close to getting a takedown in the final seconds. You would have thought the way he came off the mat that he just lost.
Yeah. Well, that
shows you what the great wrestlers are like.
Yeah.
I remember Spencer Lee in his freshman year coming off the mat very upset after, I think it was the Westmoreland County Championships.
Not beating Ethan McCoy or something.
Not
or
teching
Noah
him
Levitt
or
or
something.
One of those, yeah.
I think it was Ethan McCoy, and I think because he didn't tech him or something.
Yeah,
he
was
just
upset.
majored him. And so it's the same thing happened with Mac Church here. Didn't get the points on a late takedown, and that just shows how great of a wrestler he is. 113, Nate Jones of Waynesburg came into this one unseeded. This one was all over the place, but he ends up winning the title 7-5 over Julian Moore of Fort Cherry. 120 pounds, Costa Moore of Canon-McMillan. He wins it by tech fall over Kyle McCullum of Best Center.
Yeah, good showing for Costa Moore because he's a guy who's been up and down this season for sure, battling some injuries as well. But for him to come out and just dominate at 120 was good showing for him.
He had a tight one in the semis against Joey Senapal of Burgestown. It was a 3-1 winner, and it's a shame that we didn't get to see Senapal and McCullum wrestle. They'll get to see more action here in AA. 120 is deep in AA.
Agreed, yeah.
And so I would love to see Senapal and McCullum wrestle just to see where they could have finished out because you're going to have two studs.
Yeah,
in
for
Joey
sure.
Fisher and Ryan Michaels. 126, Rocco Welsh of Waynesburg, a 5-0 winner over Jacob Gardner for first.
Yeah, it was a good showing by by all three wrestlers here that finished top three: Rocco Welsh, Jacob Gardner, and Bryce Wilkes. So I thought Gardner, if he can stay consistent, man, he's going to be play a pivotal role in Canon-Mac's team tournament run here.
And for Gardner, he got a fall within a minute against Bryce Wilkes of Peters Township in the semifinals. Wilkes ends up pinning everybody else within a minute, but that was a bit of a surprise because I think that one could have went either way, and Gardner came out and was able to get the quick fall. 132 Cole Hammett of Waynesburg decisions Jimmy Baxter 8-2. Baxter actually came out and got the opening takedown in this one and was looking to turn Hammett over to his back, but then after that point it was all Hammett.
Yeah, and I don't count out Jimmy Baxter, man. He's a good wrestler, up a few weight classes from last year. But this was, I look at this and I'm thinking, okay, matchups for Waynesburg versus Canon-Mac. Because we see a lot of these guys going head to head. So this is a good indication of what possibly a dual meet scenario would look like between these two teams. And Cole Hammett, if they're thinking, oh well, he beats him 8-2. Okay, can we turn that into 12-2? Can we turn that into 10-2, right? Can we get a little bit more points out of them? And Jimmy Baxter thinking, I got the first takedown. Let's keep that rolling, right?
I was looking to turn him as well.
All right. So very good to see Canon-Mac and Waynesburg go head-to-head.
Wyatt Henson at 138 was your champion. Major decision win over Micah Finley of Trinity. He was dominant throughout the tournament. Trevor Pettit at 145, he was your champion. He beats Rocco Ferraro of McGuffey 4-0.
And this was a good weight class. The 145 weight class was interesting to me because you had two double-A guys finishing ahead of two triple-A guys. You can see the depth here between both classes. Gabriel Stafford comes back and beats Colton Stone King from Waynesburg, a very solid wrestler. He beats him 9-7 in sudden victory. So you got a freshman going against a sophomore, and again, Canon-Mac Waynesburg. So you're looking at matchups and thinking, okay, well, now we know where we stand.
And that one was a back-and-forth match. It was really Stone Kings early on, and Stafford came back in that one. 152 Tanner Rohaley, a 3-2 winner over Nate Stevenson of Waynesburg. And really that one, Stevenson got the first takedown, but then Rohaley with a pair of escapes, and then he ended up getting a stalling point to win it.
Wow. And that's broken record here, but Waynesburg and Canon-Mac, you look at that, in my opinion, that match is a toss-up, right? I think that could go either way. Stevenson's, I think, a guy who maybe get a little bit under the radar, but Rohaley, because he was a state qualifier last year, maybe has a little bit more pedigree to him. So, as you mentioned, you give up the opening takedown, but you get a pair of escapes and you get a stall warning. Rohaley does push the action. So, not surprised there. But again, you look at the matchups, that's a 50-50 one.
160 pounds, good tournament for Ethan Barr of McGuffey. He defeats Shane Kemper of Burgestown 5-0 for the title.
Yeah, good win for Ethan Barr. Again, McGuffey, Burgestown, like to see those two teams. And man, Burgestown, they may be that team, Greg. We're looking for that team. They may be it.
They had a good tournament. McGuffey had a good tournament as well. Eli Brinsky of South Fayette, your champ, at 170, a fall over Owen Patricic of Bentworth. He did wrestle Matt Furman of Canon-McMillan in the semis and got the win. Furman finishes in third place. Brinsky got his 100th win in the semis. Yeah,
Brinsky got his 100th win. Congratulations to him. And yeah, that was a nice semifinal match with him and Matt Furman. So good showing here for these guys.
182, Gerrit Nijenhuis of Canon-McMillan. He becomes the third four-time Tri-County champion with a major decision win over Donovan McMillan, 13-3.
Okay, Greg, I'm putting you on the spot. Who are the other two four-timers from TriCads?
A.C. Headley and Tim Wallace.
Wow, look at you, man. You're like an encyclopedia. A.C. Headley and Tim Wallace.
I was just there at the tournament all weekend.
Well, then you should have known that. That helps. Yeah, Gerrit Nijenhuis, very tough Donovan McMillan, man. This guy, I mean, remember what he did at POWERade? He pinned guys, and he was like Chan Shear or Gabe Willishell, pinning guys in under minutes. But Donovan McMillan, I think this is a good gauge for him to see where he's at against the top dog in the nation. So good showing for Donovan McMillan.
195, Cole Whitmer of Trinity just rolled through a couple of falls to win the title. He pins Tyler Rohaley of Canon-Mac for the title. 220 pounds, Evan Miller of Canon-McMillan. He wins it by fall in the finals over Ty Banco of Trinity. And at 285, Riley Kemper of Burgestown, a fall over Quentin Franklin of South Fayette for the title. Kemper looks strong. Couple of notes here at 285. Giomar Ramos ends up injuring his knee in the quarterfinals on Friday night. They obviously just injury defaulted him out of the tournament, and he's supposed to have an MRI today to see the extent of his knee. So hopefully he's okay, because that'll be a big loss for Canon-Mac.
Yeah.
Another 285-pounder, Gerald Comedy, he's actually out for the whole season with a shoulder injury, so we won't even get to see Comedy in action at all this season.
Yeah, I had heard that Comedy was going to be out for majority of the season, if not the entire season. That's a tough loss for him and the Washington Pixies. But you look at some of these other guys, Riley Kemper, as you mentioned, Quinn Franklin, guy who just now is making his way back into the lineup. He was a state qualifier last year for South Fayette. He had a good showing up until the finals. That's probably a little bit of rust that he's trying to shake off, but it just so happens you're going to have Riley Kemper to help you get some of that rust off there. So hopefully Giomar Ramos is healthy. Hopefully Stone Joseph is healthy. I look at this, Greg, and I see, I see Canon-Mac names, and I see Ryan Howard from Waynesburg here at 220. So again, thinking about matchups, where are these guys going to end up, and where can each team get bonus points? This is really the key here. So nice to see.
Canon-McMillan ends up winning the team portion of this. If you're looking at comparisons as well, they beat Waynesburg. Waynesburg did not have Luca Augustine in the lineup, though.
Yeah, that's right.
Canon-Mac, though, without Giomar Ramos, throughout the whole tournament, he ends up, injury defaulting out from the quarterfinals on. So you just look at those as far as comparisons go. Trinity finishes third, Burgestown in fourth place. And you look at the AA, Burgestown in fourth, Best Center in fifth, McGuffey in sixth. Only 1 point separated Burgestown and Best Center. So if you're looking at AA teams, the Tri-County probably has the challengers for Borough, and Burgestown, Best Center, McGuffey.
Yeah, I would agree. And all three of those teams I thought performed well. So should be good, exciting here. I'm actually excited. I genuinely mean that, Craig, to see what's going to happen here in the AA.
Yeah, it just depends on can anybody challenge Borough, and I think
they can. I think somebody can.
They're going to give them a run. I think for certain. That is for certain, but it's going to be tough to knock them off. That is for sure. And joining us to talk about the Tri-County tournament as well as his season throughout the whole is Gerrit Nijenhuis of Canon-McMillan. Gerrit, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, no problem.
Well, first, Gerrit, I want to congratulate you on your first POWERade title from a couple of weeks back. Talk a little bit about the POWERade tournament and your performance. You really went out and dominated the field. How did it feel to get that POWERade championship in your home gym?
It felt great. I was tired of coming up short the past couple of years, and I'm just really glad I was able to get it done.
When you went out there, did you know that just going in, you just want to dominate every wrestler to show, like, hey, this is my tournament, no one's coming close to me this year?
Yeah, definitely. I just wanted to go in with that mentality, just try and score as many points as I can, not taking my foot off the gas pedal. And, I just think that's the mentality I just got to keep all season.
And obviously you did that this past weekend with your fourth championship at the Tri-County. You're the third wrestler to ever do that. And then you obviously won the Outstanding Wrestler Award for it. So how does it feel to be a four-timer at the Tri-County?
It felt pretty good. There's always been, one or two tough guys in the bracket. So it's a nice little mid-season warm-up kind of, if you want to think about it that way.
Yeah, and one guy you got to wrestle was Don McMillan, some guy, a guy that you've wrestled several times in the past, and I'm sure you'll get to see him a couple more times here this season. What's it like wrestling a guy like Donovan?
Well, he's definitely tough. I just felt like if I went out and, wrestled my match that I would come out on top. But, he's a great wrestler. But I just feel like, if I do everything I need to do, I'm going to win.
And Gerrit, talk about last year, because last year was kind of, the pinnacle of your career. You come up, you win a state title, you beat Edmund Ruth in a big-time matchup. How do you come back from that, and how do you stay motivated? Because you said earlier you want to keep your foot on the gas pedal. How do you do that? You already have a state championship. You won the OW award at the state championship last year. It's like, how do you stay motivated to keep on going on?
It's kind of what they say, if you want to be great, you never can be satisfied. And, I just want to keep it rolling, win another state title and carry on to college and, have bigger aspirations there. I just think you never be satisfied. You never want to have that mentality.
And you talked about moving on to the next chapter. You're going to Purdue, Coach Ursuline and Coach AJ Shop there in Purdue. Talk about that decision. Was it a hard decision for you because you committed kind of early? You felt right at home at Purdue?
Yeah, I just think, the coaches there, best people I could have picked to help guide me through my college journey on and off the mat, and I think they're putting together something really special down in West Lafayette. You can see this year they've been doing really well. They got, I think, like 4 or 5 guys ranked in the top 8, and I'm excited to get down there.
Yeah, and they actually just moved in. They slid into the top 10 in team rankings I saw in a couple publications. So Purdue definitely has a team in the Big Ten that has a lot of vibe around it right now. So you're obviously going to add to that. Talk about, before you move on to Purdue, the Big Macs and the Canon-McMillan team here that you have. You're kind of the leader of this team. And we saw you at the quad meet, competed well, the team overall. What is it going to take for the Canon Big Macs to do well in the postseason as a team this year?
I think this is one of definitely the better teams I've been on, and I just think everyone needs to go out there and do their job, and that's the biggest part when it comes to dual meets, is do your job no matter what that is. And obviously, like against Kiski, it was pretty tight, and that wasn't our best match by far. But I just think if we go out there, do our job, wrestle well, I think we'll definitely win a WPIAL title.
And how important will it be for some of the younger guys, Gabe Stafford, Matt Furman, the freshmen coming in here, to really play their part and do well for the team to succeed?
Definitely. They will definitely need to do well. And, I've been working. I've tried to help them and, help them progress. But I think they're definitely going to be great wrestlers when it's all said and done. And, yeah, they'll have to come up big for us.
Talk a little about your coaching staff you guys have there. Jeff Pavelka, Zach Bowman, some of the others. I mean, you guys all just seem to get along really well, and the team just really responds to those coaches. Talk a little about your coaching staff. They're
great. I couldn't really ask for any better coaches. They really know how to get the team going. And, I remember last year at the quad meet, we didn't do so well. I think we dropped both matches at Hempfield and Kiski. They got us fired up again and, ready to kick butt at the team tournament.
And Gerrit, before we let you go, I got to ask, what's going on with the mane? Because you had it in kind of like a almost like a ponytail at the quad meet. What's the plan for the mane? Are you going to keep it throughout the rest of the season? Because there's stipulations. Did you get a team point deducted for the hair or something? Did you have a penalty point at the quad meet?
I gave up a personal point at the Hempfield match. They're not letting me free it, so might have to trim it up a little bit.
But you kind of, at the Super 32, you really let that one go, right? At the Super 32, after you won it, it was just all over the place. That's.
Oh yeah, in the summer, it's its full potential.
So we should expect to see it in Hershey, though, right? It just may be a little bit trimmed.
Oh, 100%.
Okay, all right.
I can't cut it for senior year.
Your poor parents. Your senior photos, man. You're gonna look back at that in 20 years and be like, "What was I thinking, man?"
Yeah, last year, Coach Abelka had to take the training scissors to it.
Okay, all right. Well, you can't give up any more personal points. So make sure your shoes are tied, your hair's controlled. So. But yeah, that's awesome, Gerrit. I like that you can have a little bit of a fun, out there on the mat as well, and keep it kind of entertaining. And we hope that you do it again this year in Hershey, because last year was a phenomenal run. Hope to see you do it again this year.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
And congratulations again on not only winning the POWERade, but also winning a 4-timer at Tri-County. And we look forward to seeing you the rest of the season.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
All right, thanks Gerrit.
We'd like to thank Gerrit Nijenhuis for joining us on the show. Let's switch gears now to the MAC tournament that took place this past weekend. At 106, Ty Waters of West Allegheny was your champ, as was Nico Taddy of West Allegheny at 113.
Yeah, and this is finally Ty Waters' his season debut here. He had not wrestled up until this point. I had him in the rankings and I took him out. Then I had him in the rankings because he was registered to wrestle for POWERade, and then I took him out. So now I'm actually going to put him back in. But, he's a highly touted freshman from West Allegheny. Same with Nico Taddy, his teammate. Both these guys wrestled well. In fact, Nico Taddy tech-followed Tyler Diggins from Moon, who's not a bad wrestler. So, we were impressed with Taddy at POWERade. He kind of kept that going.
And they had second place at 120 with Luke Potts finishing. Kyvon Grace of Moon ends up knocking him off there. 126, Timmy Cafrelli of Southside. He was your champion. 132, Jordan Waters able to bounce back after I'm sure what he thought was a little disappointing POWERade performance to end up taking the title there.
Yeah, good showing by both Waters here, and Jordan, obviously, as you said, coming back to form here. But how about 138, Kenny Dushek from Freedom, pinning Eddie Heen from Carlington in 36 seconds. That's a big time match, and man, Kenny Dushek, he's wrestled well throughout this season, man.
Yeah, the bracket didn't fall well for him at POWERade, but he did wrestle well at POWERade, I thought. Even Pride gave Bo Bartlett, besides Hilligus, obviously, his toughest match.
Sure.
So it's good to see Dushek end up coming out and performing like he did. Anthony Navarro of Southside won 145. Daniel Yetsick of Ambridge wins 152. Connor Redinger, we talked about him, and can he bounce back from injury? He is back at 160. He wins the title.
Yeah, I was disappointed because I wanted to see him and Yetsick down at 52, but Connor's up at 160 here for this past tournament, and really just goes out and dominates. But I really wish I could have seen him and Yetsick going at it.
170, Trent Schulteis of Freedom. He had a good one against Patrick Kutchember of Quaker Valley. Schulteis wins that 8-4.
Yeah, good showing by him because remember, we talked about POWERade and Kutchember. He beat Nick Delp at POWERade. Schulteis did not have a good POWERade, so nice for him to get that win. I think he needed that one.
182, Colin Milka of Carlington wins the title. 195, Awesome Wally of Elwood City wins it. Donovan Kutchember of Quaker Valley at 220, and Mitch Miles of Laurel wins it at 285.
Yeah, no real surprises there. Everything kind of went chalk with Milka, Wally, Kutchember, and Miles. I thought all four of those guys wrestled well.
The Tool City Tournament, North Allegheny wrestling in that one, as well as Fox Chapel, and North Allegheny ends up winning the whole team portion of it. As far as champions go, Nick Gorman at 106 pounds, Freddie Junko at 145, and Nick Marcinelli at 195, and Ben Grafton at 285.
Yeah, I thought North Allegheny wrestled really well as a team, as a whole. You look at what they did to the rest of the field, 243.5 points to 168.5 points to General McLean, which was second. Nick Gorman rolled through that tournament, had no real challengers, beating Logan Sallet from McDowell in the finals. I was impressed with the way he wrestled. And as you mentioned, Freddie Junko as well. He had a nice win over Roman Maroney from Williamsport, who's a young stud from Williamsport. He beat him 6-5, so I like the way Freddie Junko's wrestling, kind of grinding out wins here. The weird match was Malachi Duval from Penns Valley against Grant McKay from North Allegheny. A very similar situation to the Bazakis and Phipps match, because McKay had Duval up in the air. He brought him down, trapped the arm, and it was essentially a slam. And he was DQ'd for it. So, he was essentially going to get the takedown. I think McKay probably would have ended up winning that match, but, we couldn't see the end of that one. And Duvall's, he's a stud. He's a state medalist from Penns Valley. But McKay, as a freshman, I wish I could have seen him finish that match. But clearly, he's right there with those guys.
No doubt about it. And other matches as well. Logan Jaquay of Eisenhower goes to overtime with Dylan Coy of North Allegheny. Jaquay ends up winning that one. Alex Keitlinger of Sagertown beats Nathan Montepart of NA in the finals 7-2. And as well as Max Stediford at 138, he ends up finishing in third place. Kenny Kaiser happened to be at that weight class.
Yeah, and Riley Bauer, both those guys are really good. Ed Farrell dropped down to seventh place. I thought he would have a little bit of a better showing there. But the Tool City's not a bad tournament. You got a lot of good AA schools, a couple out-of-state schools, so some good competition there.
Also going on this past weekend was the Bo Wood Invitational Tournament. Indiana ends up finishing in second place. Joey Fisher of South Park, he ends up winning a title at 120 pounds. Danny Turner for Indiana, he wins a title, as does Bradley Petrus at 152. And that's it for the WPIL as far as champions go.
Yeah, not a ton of competition there, but Joey Fisher had a nice win over Evan Whiteside from Gateway in the semifinals. That was a good match for him. I believe it was a decision, but Whiteside, I think he was just a victim of where he fell in the bracket. But he did battle Joey Fisher well, so nice to see him going toe-to-toe with a stud.
As far as upcoming tournaments for this weekend, the Burgestown Invitational Tournament features a lot of WPIAL schools in that one. Also, the debut of the Midwinter Mayhem at IUP, Freedom, North Allegheny, Penn Trafford, and West Mifflin, all going to be at that one. What can we expect out of that tournament?
This is going to be an interesting one because it's the first year of this tournament, and obviously first-year tournaments are definitely intriguing because you have a lot of teams here from all across the state. In fact, tournament director Paul Myers, who does the surge for us, he has a team from every district in the state, which I thought is pretty cool, right? He has all 12 districts are represented here at the Midwinter Mayhem, which is pretty unique for Pennsylvania. So I think you're going to see some solid competition. It's obviously tough to say with everything in terms of where a team's going to fall and where the weight's going to go, but I think we should expect some good stuff here, especially with North Allegheny and Freedom, right? Those are good teams, AA and AAA, and we're going to see a bunch of other solid teams from all across the state.
A couple other interesting notes. Seneca Valley is going to be at the Reynolds Duels this upcoming weekend. Canon-McMillan is going to be at the Virginia Duels. So good test for those two teams as far as getting their dual season ready to go.
Yeah, and Seneca Valley was there last year against the Reynolds at the Reynolds Duels, so I'm excited to see how they match up there with Reynolds because Reynolds is the top-ranked team in AA. Seneca Valley obviously moved up in the rankings here after what they did at the quad meet. So, a lot of good stuff going on. Virginia Duels, Canon-McMillan's going to be down there. They always seem to do well down there, but they get a lot of good competition from out-of-state teams. And Waynesburg goes down to West Virginia for winner's choice. So, some good action this coming weekend, and looking forward to the weeks to come because this is it, man. There's not a whole lot of time left in the regular season. It's hard to believe, but the postseason's kind of right around.
Yeah, by the end of the month, we're going to be talking about the WPIL championships, and these teams will be setting their way by the section matches. There's some good ones coming up here this week as well. We'll be looking at Norwin at Franklin Regional. That should be a good one to recap as far as AAA goes. Also, you got Greensburg-Salem's going to be at Latrobe this week. So, as among others, there's many others that we'll be taking a look at, but should be interesting to see how some of these matches break down and turn out.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to some of these AA schools, as you mentioned, Greg, and Beth Center and Bentworth are wrestling, Southside and Quaker Valley. Again, where are we going to see these teams end up? Derry, Southmoreland wrestling. It's kind of wide open. I think Borough obviously has that foothold, but who's going to be those challengers? It's going to be interesting.
I've been high on Burgestown all season as far as like a good number 2, and I still think right now at this point, seeing them compete, they just have a deep team. They have, and they didn't have. They end up finishing the highest among the AA, and DJ Slovic didn't wrestle.
Yeah,
in the
that's true. So, I forgot about that.
Not have him in the lineup, he would probably finish second, third at his weight class. And with all the falls that took place, they definitely would have been farther ahead of Beth Center and McGuffey. Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. So, I'm looking forward to it, Greg. Looking forward to it. That'll wrap up another week of wrestling talk here on WarUp on the WPIAL. Make sure you join us next week as we recap these tournaments and matches and get you set for another week of wrestling action. I want to thank Gerrit Nijenhuis for joining us on the show. For my partner, Jeff Upson, I'm Greg Warnock. Thanks for listening in to WarUp on the WPIAL.